basically the bridge between Asia, Europe, and Egypt. Okay, we have a lot of Egyptian findings here in Israel of Thutmose and other kings that used the land of Israel as a bridge to the Fertile Crescent, or through the Fertile Crescent into Babylon. Okay, and basically some people stayed here, some people left here, and some people basically changed their religion and developed a lot of religions in this area. Given that, the big change of the new era starts in the beginning of the 19th century, where the Ottoman Empire, okay, takes over. A guy named Ophir, you need to open the host for me because I want to share something. Okay. One minute. Sorry. You see this guy? Guys?
We don't see anything.
You don't see? Because I shared the screen and didn't share it. Okay.
There we go.
Now you see. Now you see this guy. Okay? His name is Ibrahim Pasha, or Pasha. Okay? The son of a guy you probably know, Muhammad Ali. Wait, are you going to probably speak about him if you're going to speak about Egypt? He is an Ottoman leader, okay, Mehmet Ali, that controlled the area of Israel and Egypt in the beginning of the 19th century. And in 1931, he chooses to bring Arab tribes, Bedouin tribes from Egypt and Sudan and Iraq to one minute. Sorry. Phil, can you join the people? Can you take the hosting again for a minute? Phil?
Yes, yes. Well, Muhammad Ali, father of Ibrahim Pasha,
Yes.
was part of the Ottoman troops that came to Egypt
Yes.
in 1801 to make sure that the French expedition led by Napoleon will leave when Napoleon lost the war. And then Muhammad Ali was a very strategic person and a very ambitious one. In a few years' time, he managed to be the viceroy, and then eventually by 1807, he was the head of the Egyptian state that he founded eventually. And Ibrahim Pasha was his direct successor. He started to rule in 1848. And yes, he led a lot of military campaigns in Asia, in Saudi Arabia and in Jerusalem. I don't know about the dynamics of the immigration of the Arabs, but I mean, that was the trend. Yes. Wherever they went, you know, people from Egypt would move to the newly sort of conquered lands with them. Yes, but okay. You know more about the dynamics of the society at the time.
So basically what happened, thank you, Waifa.
Erez,
Almost.
did you call me before? I'm sorry, I went to make coffee.
No, I didn't. No, I
I'm
didn't.
sorry.
I
Okay, I
didn't.
thought I heard you calling my name. Okay, go
No,
ahead.
I said Ophir because I wanted you to join the people that was in the waiting room.
I see. Okay.
Okay. So guys, basically this guy brought from the Arab perspective of Israel or the Muslim perspective of Israel, he brought a lot of tribes from Sudan and from Iraq. A lot of the Iraqi troops settled in the northern part of Israel. The Fiascas and the Lamb family met some of their families. Okay, up in Marar in the Galilee. We're going to see a map in a minute that shows a map that shows where we have the biggest amount of Arabic-speaking people. You see this, okay? The Arab majority is up north. They came from Iraq, which is over here. Came here, and people who came from Sudan is this area, which is mainly Bedouins. Okay, so he brought people, some of them settled in Jerusalem. You can know it by the family names. And in this time, okay, in 1857, a very, very famous family, the Husseini family, comes into the table and moves into the land of Israel. Okay, anybody knows the name the Husseini family?
Yeah.
What? Yes, Waifa? Who said yes? I don't see.
Not me, but sounds like Iraqi. I mean, Hussein is the grandchild of the Prophet.
Yes, Husseini is a family from Egypt that is connected to the Jordanian tribe. Yes. Okay, and Hajj Amin al-Husseini was the leader of the Muslim society before the state of Israel was built. Okay. In the 19th century, there was a lot of immigration of Jewish people, mainly from Europe, okay, into Israel. You can see all the places which are not marked. Okay, most of them today are settled by Jews. Tel Aviv, Rishon LeZion. Haifa is a mixed city. The next slide I'm going to join is Arabic-speaking people. Okay, this is today. This is the diversity today. Where you can see Jerusalem. Okay, this is Jerusalem. Okay, the black line is the separation fence. Okay, you can see this is the United Jerusalem. We don't see, but there is more neighborhoods over here which is fully speaking Arabic, and Jerusalem is mixed. The green is Arabic speaking, the white is Hebrew speakers. So you can see that there is some cities even in the center. This is the area of Tel Aviv and Jaffa. Jaffa is mainly Arabic speaking, but you have Hebrew and Arabic. Lud and Ramle, which is again, Ramle is the only Muslim city that was built from scratch. Okay, there was a lot of cities like Damascus and like Cairo that was built from a different city. Ramle was the headquarters of the Muslim leaders. Any questions from now till now? Something you didn't understand that I said? Questions? No. Okay. And guys, when you see this, you have to understand that we have the British Mandate coming. In 1917, Balfour, Lord Balfour, you see him? Do you see him? Yes. He declares that the British that was here and got the mandate that the Jewish people needs to get their own homeland. But he doesn't stand with what happened later. But before we get to, we're going to go back a bit. to Mark Twain. Anybody here read the books of Mark Twain about Israel? So I will ask you to read what Mark Twain said about the Holy Land. I think Palestine. It's called Palestine because this is the Roman name. Anybody here knows the name of Adrian? Okay, Adrian was a Caesar that fought the Jews, and in 135 decided, he says, enough is enough. The Jews are rebelling against him again. We're stubborn, you know. We always want our pure synagogues, and the temple needs to be pure. And he says, I'm changing it to Palestine after the Philistines. And this is the name that stayed. And then he comes here. He's the first American to visit the Holy Land. Okay, he was sent, and he was basically, the trip was paid, basically, and the trip was made, basically, was paid by him telling the story. And he's saying, I think Palestine must be a prince. We don't see the upper part, but he basically says it's an ugly country. Okay, and he speaks about the hills are barren, they are dull in color. Okay, and he starts to speak more and more about the Holy Land, and not good things. Palestine sits in sackcloth and ashes, basically saying nothing was here. Okay, he's visiting the Holy Land in 1867, which means that if we speak about Muhammad Ali, like Waifa said, he wanted to come and develop it, and the Ottomans developed it, but not, I would say, not really. Okay, but the migration of Arab tribes, Bedouin tribes, and migration of Jewish people from Europe, basically coming here and starting to flourish. As Waifa said, there was a movement of migration for new lands, like Columbus. If anybody ever thought why the Middle East is called the Middle East, the fiasco, lamb, you remember why the Middle East is called the Middle East? Okay, no? I see. Because, I'll ask you a question. Why are you called the West? West of who? West of the British. The New World. The Near East. The Near East is Turkey, and then the Middle East is where me and Waifa lives. Okay? So this is what he sees. This is what Mark Twain looks and sees. And then we get to 1948. We have the British over here, and the UN says, I want two-state solution. And he says, we split the land to two areas. We call it the settler N. See the number N? You see the word N? The letter N here? Where Jerusalem is international. Why would they put Jerusalem as international? Anybody has a clue? They wanted to keep it calm. Nobody wanted to give either the Jews or the Arabs, or the Muslims, we should say, the control. Again, we have to look at it from European eyes. Lebanon over here, in the upper part, was controlled by France. Okay, and Egypt was controlled by the British and Israel. They basically drew lines. And then in 1948, we have the war. Guys, in 1948, only 31%, 34% of the Jewish people who came was born in Israel. Anybody has a clue how many Israelis were born in Israel, let's say in 2009? Somebody want to give a guess? Less than 61%. And this is where the diversity of Israeli come into effect. It's a migrating city. It's a migrating country that the percentage of Jews is mainly the most. 70% of the people are Jewish. But we have other minorities. Some of them, or most of them, were here before. In 1948, there is 2/3 of Arabic people or Muslim people, and only 1/3 is Jewish. And then what happened is what we call in Arabic, or the people call in Arabic, the Nakba. Okay, the disaster, which is the independence of Israel. A lot of people are being pushed away, a lot of Muslims are running, and Arabs are running away to Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt, and all over the world. Because the Arab countries around us tell them, give us 2 weeks, we finish the Jews, you come back. And some of them did come back. But some of them didn't come back to the original place. And some of them, and we have to understand, Israel is one of the only countries that the Christian minority is growing in the 20th century. There is a small group of Coptic people in Egypt, which is a very, very ancient Christianity. And the Assyrian Christians in Syria, a lot of them ran away to Europe. But guys, you see 1950 in 2020, where 70% is Jewish, which is the blue color. The green is Muslims, Christian. And when they speak about Christians, they speak about all the Christians. There's about 3 or 5 groups: the Catholics, the Coptics, the Ethiopians, the Assyrians, which are celebrating Easter. The Catholic are celebrating on Sunday, the 12th. Okay. The Assyrians are celebrating 2 weeks after. Okay. Sabbath of Fire is next week at the 18th, which is a very big event. And guys, the reason I'm telling you all those names of holidays is because we have Ramadan, and we have another minority we forgot, the Druze. Anybody remembers what the Druze come from? They come from Egypt. Okay. Another, it's the Fatimic leaders. And guys, everybody came here. Now we have to build a country from it because people are here. We have to remember that till 1966, you saw the map up north, all the northern parts of Israel, or most of the northern parts of Israel, were under governmental regime, which means that you're not part of the state of Israel till 1966. You had to get the permission to go from your home out and in, which means you're not part of the diverse society. And then in 1966, it ends. But still it takes years and years and years for people to develop, and years and years and years of people to go in and to be acceptable in the society. And I will ask you a question. is the story is only the people that live in Israel or was born in Israel? If we just said 34% were born in Israel, and most of them were locals, and we have to understand in 1948, 80% of the Jews are European Jews. Germany, Poland, and stuff like this, people who came. But there is Jews from here, and the Jewish agency define or separates the Jews to three groups. Ashkenazi Jews, which are Jews that came from Europe. Okay, Sephardi Jews, that people that came from Spain, or after the Inquisition in 1492, that was exiled from Spain to the Ottoman Empire, which accepted the Jews very, very good. And this is the reason that on Tzfat, which is point somewhere over here, up north, up here, there is some Sephardic Jews and Oriental Jews. Anybody knows what an Oriental Jew is? Jews that came from Africa, okay, Ethiopia, but mainly from Egypt. There was a big community of Jews in Egypt, okay, and Morocco and Yemen and Turkey and the Middle East, basically. And now let's speak about the Aliyot. Aliyah is Jewish people migrating into Israel. Yeah. Do you see this? Just raise your hand if you see the screen, if it's blocking your, it's blocking the, it's not blocking it. Okay, so guys, 1948, there's a big migration of Jews from all over after the Holocaust, which defines, as I said, mainly Ashkenazi Jews, but not only. Here we have some Jews from Arab countries migrating. And then we have a migration. Here, in 66 is the end of the military control on the Arab areas, or the Arab-speaking areas. And over here we have a big aliyah. 90 to 91. 92, Jews from Russia mainly. Ethiopian Jews and Jews from Russia. And guys, you have to understand, people come here. Till today, only 61% was born in Israel in 2009, which is here. And this is what basically creates the diversity of Israel. Any questions? Time for questions. I see. So let's proceed. Let's proceed with the story. I want to show you some people. People who've been to Israel, do you recognize this guy? No?
I think it's our friend the Druze.
It is the Druze from the Golan Heights. Till 1967 was part of Syria. He was a teacher in Syria and then a teacher in Israel. Okay? Guys, the Druze are very, very close to Jewish people. They have a holiday that not a lot of people know about. they celebrate the grave of Jethro, which is their prophet. Anybody have heard the name Jethro? He is the in-law of Moses. The Druze is a very, very young religious, only 1,000 years old. And they have to serve in the military. So when you have them and you have the military, it's like a melting pot. And then you get some traditions of the Druze, or not the Druze, I would say Eastern traditions. Okay, there is a holiday coming after Passover, okay, called the Mimuna. Ofir, have you ever been to a Mimuna?
Yes, I have. Adding 10 pounds in one night.
Fortunately or unfortunately, this year, we will not be able to celebrate it. And for long years, it wasn't an official holiday in Israel. In 1977, Menachem Begin rose into power. Okay, and it was the end of the, I would say, the old order of the Ashkenazi Jews. Although Menachem Begin was Ashkenazi, was a European Jew or Russian Jew, the Jews from Arab countries. What? The question? Toby?
I think Begin was Polish, not Russian.
Begin was Eastern European. It depends. You know, there is a joke in Israel. Okay, I took kindergarten in Russia, middle school in Poland, and university in Germany, and I never left my village. So it depends.
Yeah.
Huh? It depends when you can't do it. Yes, I think you're right. I think he was Polish. Huh?
Anders, I think he was in Anders' army. I think that was his name, Polish army. Not in
forgot.
the course.
Menachem Begin ran to Russia.
Then, okay.
He ran to Russia, and this is how he managed to come here to Israel. Okay? And even when he came here, he was considered a terrorist by the British regime, the British mandate. That's the reason we were saved from driving on the wrong side of the road, because we weren't a colony. Okay? I can tell you the Fiasca and Forrester just gave me something I didn't know. The Germans ran away not only to Russia, Germans ran away all the way to your area, Wisconsin. Christians, I didn't know that. Okay, so a lot of people ran away here, and Begin basically took over. And the reason he was managed to take over from the majority, which is the Socialist Party, was because the amount of Jews from Arab countries gathered, okay, and took over because they had a bigger birth rate. Until 1977, they didn't have enough. And from then on, Herut Party, or we would say the Arab-oriented society, is more in control, and the tradition is coming into it. This is why we have the Mimuna, for example. Do you know the difference between an Arab and a Muslim? Waifa, would you define yourself an Arab, a Muslim, or an Egyptian?
Or a Egyptian would be my priority. Egyptian would be my priority. I am a Muslim, and I'm very proud of my religion as well. Arab is because we speak Arabic. I mean, more and more because of the development of the political dynamics around us. I mean, under Nasser, everything was directed to making a point to incarcerate in our spirits that we are Arabs and it's all about the Arab world. But now we realize that we need to have some independence. We are Egyptian. Our descendants are the ancient Egyptians. I'm a Muslim. Egypt was invaded by the Arabs in the year 641. The majority of the population now, over 80%, are Muslims. Some of them are Arab, just like you said. When the conquest came, it came with many Arab tribes. Those who stuck to the religion, they didn't change it, are who we call now Coptic, or the Christian Egyptians, that we are very proud of, because they are the remaining part of the ancient Egyptian population, as I'm going to explain to you in my lecture next week. So I'm very proud of being Egyptian. I'm very proud of being Muslim. And Arab, I mean, you have to differentiate between Arab and Islam. Arab means...
I'll ask you a question.
Please.
Do you think that there is a possibility that there is going to be something that is called an Arab Jew?
There are Arab Jews, like a Jewish. We had lots of Jewish people living here until the revolution of Nasser. 4 years before there was the announcement of the foundation of the State of Israel, Nasser was, in my opinion, a terrible regime. If you were an aristocrat of any religion and your property has been confiscated, if you were a foreigner, I mean, everybody, if you were a Jewish person, of course, with the state of war with Israel that took place 4 years ago, everybody was put under very strict regime. And eventually, I mean, people had to leave, because some of them were even restrained to their homes. And I remember there is this very touching novel, The Man with the White Skin Suit. It's about the Jewish man who was an Egyptian, and he had to leave because of the harassment that took place under the Nasser regime. And it's very sad that this took place among the elite of the society. Christians and Muslims left the country. It was a great loss to us all, those who were harassed from this different divisions, you know, by Nasser, and they left the country with less enlightened people, you can say, less entrepreneurs, less businessmen. Yani,
I see. So what I wanted to say basically, that in Israel, there is a lot of Arab tradition, but for long years it wasn't recognized. So we have Druze, which are not Arabs, okay, or depends who you ask, but some of them do define themselves. So we have Christians, okay, and we have Jews that came from Arab countries, and Jews that came from Ashkenazi countries, and some Jews that was born in Israel. And all of this gets into this. Wait a minute. Do you recognize this guy? What religion does he hold? He's an Orthodox Jew. Okay, which is part of the Jewish streams or sects, which they have their own traditions. But today we're trying to assimilate everybody, or this was part of the attempt. Today we have more and more people holding their own belief. I'll ask you a question. You see, wait a minute. You see this guy? The guy to the right, I guess you recognize already. But the guy to the left, what religion does he hold? Anybody has a clue? Would you be able to say he's Jewish?
He's a kibbutznik.
Is he what?
My guess is a kibbutznik.
A kibbutznik.
Yeah.
He's not a kibbutznik, he's a Druze.
Okay.
Okay? I would tell him that he looks like a kibbutznik. He's the same guy like the other guy we saw.
Yeah, there's
Like,
no way of knowing.
Like this guy.
But the background.
Okay? You want to recognize the Druze? Look for this beard. Guys, they left you confused? because we're trying to understand how many people. And guys, this is the diversity. Look at this photo I'm going to get in a minute. How many religions you see in this photo? Can you tell me how many religions you see here? I see at least 3. You can see the sepulchre, which is the holy sepulchre. I can see a talit, which is a Jewish head shell. Can you tell me the difference between those two? Is it 2 different religions? Somebody speaking? Both of them are Muslim, but it's more of an Arab story because this one is the Hashemite family of Jordan. You can see some of them in the Saudi areas, and this is the Palestinian one. And again, guys, a lot of Arabs who live in Israel define themselves as Palestinians. So the society is so diverse that you cannot really understand who is who. Can you tell me which religion is this? You
Those
remember
are
this place?
the Babylonian gardens.
Not the Babylonians, but it comes from next to Babylon, you're right. It's the Baha'i gardens.
Baha'i, but right.
Baha'i that came from Egypt, from Iran.
Yeah.
In Haifa. Haifa is a mixed city. Okay, we can see the Baha'i gardens. Down below, we have the German colony. The German gave us a lot of technology. Okay, they came here, the Templars. Okay, and over here you have some Christians, and over here Wadi Nisnas, and the middle is Jewish. So you probably understand that the diversity is when people live one next to each other. Guys, we have another 10 minutes. Do anyone has any question? This is the time for questions. Something you want me to clarify?
Erez, what % of the Jews are religious, and how do the non-religious Jews impact Israel versus the religious Jews?
Oh, okay. So it goes like this. About 30% of the Jewish people, which are 74% of the society of Israel of 9 million people, are, I would say, religious to some extent. Okay, I guess you hear in the news about the Orthodox Jews in Bnei Brak, and so it's very in the news and all over the world about Bnei Brak, which is Orthodox Jews that basically look like, I even made the photo. This, okay, ultra Orthodox, we'll go with a special hat. And it really defines the country. And today it's a big fight. We have to understand Israel is a very young country. It is 70 years old, that's it. Just to give you a perspective, the time of the independence from England of the US to the time of the Civil War is about 100 years. So it took 100 years to make the US what it is, the United Nations, the United States. So 70 years, so we're still having issues. A lot of the personal marriage and stuff like this, personal things like marriage, divorce, and stuff like this, is still affected by the ultra-Orthodox. You have to marry by your religion. This is something that the Ottomans left us. I don't know if in Egypt it's still like this. It's like this, But in Israel, if you're a Muslim, you're a Muslim. You have to marry as only to Muslims and only by the Muslim law. Jewish only by the Jewish law, and Christians only by the Christian law. So it really affects. For example, Shabbat, we don't have buses. So the religious does affect. Yes, Waifa, you wanted to say something?
No, I was just telling you, answer to your question. In Egypt, a Muslim man can marry a Christian girl, or Jewish will be okay as well, but vice versa, no, because the children will follow the religion of the father.
Okay, so in Israel, it's not like this. You cannot marry between religions, and there is no civil
Okay.
system. Okay, so to your question, Mr. Lam, I forgot the names. Forgive me. And I have only Lindsay name. Yes, it's really affecting the life. Restaurants has to get kosher food, which is by the Jewish law. Hotels, the people who visited Israel understood that they cannot get coffee on Shabbat because we go by the Jewish law. So this is basically, I would say, only the minor effect of how people, how the state is being affected. And last thing I want to show you is a short movie that was made by a TV branch about Israel. This one. That show you the mix. Each of one of the photos show Israelis. You remember that Mark Twain saying that it was a barren hills? You can see what happened in the last 100 years. This is Tel Aviv. Yes, women serve the military. Majhul dates. So guys, thank you very much. There is any more questions?
Thank you, Erez. That was
Thank
very
you.
interesting.
I hope you learned something. And if you're more confused that you were confused when you were here, so I still did my job because it's
Ah.
basically a combine of different traditions.
Thank you. It was interesting.
Thank you very much, Erez. Very, very interesting. Is there any way you can send the host back to me, by the way? I wonder.
I think you can take it. You can reclaim it.
Yeah, I wonder how I do that. Well, let me see here. Reclaim host. Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to try to figure out how to do this. Nope, I can't figure it out. Anyway, so the only reason I want to reclaim it is just to thank you very much and to thank Wafika, who was with us from beautiful Cairo in Egypt.
Thank you.
We're very much looking forward to learning about Egypt next week, next Saturday.
Same here. Same
And
here.
as I said last week, that Egypt is the type of place where you have to see it with your own eyes to understand the magnitude of what was built in those days and the tremendous, the absolutely fascinating culture and the traditions that went on at that time. And we're very much looking forward to learning from you.
And I'm looking forward to seeing you all here in Cairo, inshallah, Ophir.
Yeah,
Inshallah.
inshallah, yeah. And Erez, again, thank you very much for showing some of the faces of the many faces of Israeli traditions and cultures, the history, and the groups of people that make up a very diverse society, and explaining how it got to be this way. I really appreciate your time. And to everybody else who's with us today, I'd like to thank you for joining us. Next week, I'll send out the invitations as I do every week. Please stay healthy, stay safe, and have a very happy Pesach for the Jewish friends, and a very happy Easter for the Christian friends. And Wafika, by the way, there's a Muslim holiday coming up too.
Ramadan.
Ramadan, we start fasting very soon.
It depends if you ask it depends if you ask the Egyptians or the Saudis. If you ask
well, there's always a 1 day difference. We always argue about it, but it will be soon
23 of
anyway.
April, no? 23 of April.
Pardon me?
23 of April.
26.
26.
Yes, I suppose.
Okay.
I hope so. Not yet determined.
Ramadan Kareem to you and the
Ramadan
family.
Kareem.
Allahu Akram.
Yes,
Allahu
yes,
Akram.
absolutely. So
Thank
we'll
you
be
very much.
wishing you a happy Ramadan next week as well. Be well,
Thank you so
everybody,
much.
and thank you again
Thank
for
you,
joining us.
Erez.
It's an honor and a pleasure.
That was great. See you soon.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Good job, Erez.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was fun.
Good seeing you.
Good to see you.
Good seeing you too.
Well,
Thank
if
you.
you want to leave it open and keep
Thank
talking, you're fine.
Thank you,
Anybody
Erez.
else want to speak? Thank you. Enjoy, guys. Hope to see you
Thank
in Israel.
We'd love to come back. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Shavua tov. Bye-bye.
Thank